All right, all right, all right. Or should I make it a bit different today? How about who are those guys? In honor of the late Robert Redford, that legendary line that he and
Ah,
Paul Newman repeated to each other when they were being chased the first time in that flick across the prairie, and they kept looking at each other and going, "Who are these guys?"
who are these guys?
I'll give you one of
Was it
these too from the Sting.
was it him or Newman that says, "What? Like I can't swim. What are you worried about? The fall's going to kill you." I forget who
Newman
delivered
said
that.
that.
Newman said that. That movie. I mean, as you would expect, and you're more of a movie buff than I am, but the classics do tend to hold up. Like you could dial that
Yeah,
movie up right now and go, "Ah, that's a pretty good movie." That's still two good actors and good people behind the scenes, and yeah, worth.
great dialogue and
Yeah. What a run Redford had, huh? I mean, he was still doing stuff up until about a year ago, I think, maybe even till now. But that's a hell of a run.
a huge contribution to independent cinema too. I mean, that's the other thing about Sundance and that whole thing, that whole film festival was all his doing, and he had a certain insistence that the movies be relevant, and they were.
Right.
And yeah, he had a much bigger impact than just being an actor. And then the first time he directed a movie, of course, he won an Academy Award.
What was
First
that?
time.
Was that the
Ordinary
Sting?
People.
Ordinary
Ordinary
People. Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
And he only was nominated for one Academy Award as an actor, believe it or not.
I don't
And
believe that.
that was in The Sting.
How about that? Now, do you think with all that success and his marginal good looks, he got enough Hollywood tail along the way? Was he a guy, do you think, that was chasing the women?
Well, he lived in Utah for most of the time when he was a star. So I'm going to say he had whatever he wanted to have, and it wouldn't have mattered where he was.
Right. Yeah, he's quite a run, and him
Definitely.
and Newman, it's funny because the whole buddy casting thing cannot work sometimes, or you go to the well once too often with them. It seemed to work in the films they did, and
They went twice. They went
yeah,
twice, and it was two biggies. And The Natural too, one of the great baseball movies. He played a believable character. I thought, believable ball player in that one. So yeah, a wide and varied career.
yeah, yeah, and you're right. And you're bringing up what he did what he did and will continue to do because it will be part of his legacy for independent film. And
Right.
I don't know that we're going to get my one book, Mr. Townsend and the Polish Prince. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. We tried really hard and we just couldn't get
I
people.
hope so, man.
I appreciate that, but that would be the route we'd likely go. We'd have to be a small independent film, and that option really didn't exist. I mean, it did, but it didn't exist to the extent it does now before he kind of showed people the path you can take.
Right.
Interesting. One of the richest, most successful guys ever who could have just made nothing but big studio movies and helped those people and chose to kind of go the direction and say, let's make this accessible to more people. And it's not like independent movies don't cost money and everything, but yeah, great run for this guy. Great run.
Definitely.
Almost as good a run as your Seattle Mariners are on, Groz, who,
Transition.
yeah, how about that? Thank you. Thank you. There are people out there go, what are you going to talk about Redford all day? Talk about sports, dumbasses. It's so funny, isn't it? Because you sit there and 2 weeks ago, they're done. They're idiots. They're doomed. Dan Wilson doesn't know what he's doing. And it's the only sport where it's like this. In 10 days, you can go from that to, they're the hottest team in the league right now. Nobody wants to see them. It's been amazing. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah. Because it's shown everything they have. I mean, I think it's shown everyone what they can look like when they've got everything ticking. And the big part of this gas has been the starting pitching.
Mm-hmm.
There's this 9-game winning streak. It came back to be what we thought it could be and what it needs to be to give this team the best shot at the rest of the regular season. And then we all know that starting pitching, seems to have a big impact. Maybe not for as many innings, but a bigger impact in the postseason than any of it. And the Mariners have finally gotten it, I think, back to where they want it to be. I mean, they got 13 strikeouts for Kirby last week in the game, or 14.
14.
Brian Wu setting a record, pitching great. So they've got their pitching staff going well, which is the key thing to getting that winning streak going. Having said that, they're not going to win the next 12 games in a row. So people don't freak out because
Yeah.
you know what will happen if they lose 2 out of the next 3 to Kansas City. People will be, oh my God. And
Right.
they go 6-6, they make the postseason. I think
Right.
it's a lock if they do that. And I think they'll do a little bit better than that.
Let me throw this out
Excuse
at
me.
you, and I'm really getting on the Dare to Dream Express here, and there's a couple of ifs to this, but none of them are outrageous. What if the M's do stay hot? They're not going to win all of them, right? But let's say they win, 9 or 10 of their last 12 games. What if they can run down the number 2 spot in the American League, which they could do? The Tigers are in free fall right now. They're 6-14, I think, in their last. And then look, they're one day away from getting it going again, like we talked about with the M's. The Tigers have to play the Guardians 6 times. The Guardians are like the M's. They're scorching hot right now, and they're desperate. They've got to win those games because they got to track down Detroit. Now, the big. So and Seattle's 3 games behind Detroit as today starts to get to the number 2 spot. But the Yankees, I think, are a game behind them, and the Red Sox are 2. So you've got to pass the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Tigers. It's a little bit of a pie in the sky thing, but it's not undoable.
That gives you the bye, right? So you're looking at
Imagine that. Imagine if they were get the number 2 and you get a couple of days off. You don't get in one of those pressure-packed early series where your season can be over in a couple of days. Instead, you can get your rotation set and be ready to go. You'd be a home team in the playoffs. That seems important to them.
Very important to them.
We'll have a little better view of it after this week because Kansas City is faded, but they're pretty decent. And then Houston. But if the M's can, again, I'm with you. I don't think they're going to win every game, but if they can win, they got 6 games between now and the next time we talk. If they win 5 of those 6, they'll be in the mix for the number 2 spot, I think. But so will the Yankees, so will the Red Sox. So big things. But why not dream big, Groz?
Absolutely. It's time to do it. And I think anything that gets them more home games is certainly going to benefit this team. So it's just been great to watch. It's just been so much fun to watch. And they just, it feels different, Gas, than it did a couple of years ago, when they made it and it was a miracle. Cal Raleigh had the big hit, and I think you were kind of floating euphorically. I don't think you really felt like, I didn't really feel like they could win the World Series that year.
Right.
But I do feel it this year. I do feel it this year. Now, it didn't help to feel it in 2001. Like we all did back then, but fingers crossed, nothing unusual happens between now and the end of the season, and they keep playing well. I like their chances very much. I really do think they've got as good a chance as any team to win the World Series this year with that pitching staff they have going the way it's going, with the way they built up the middle of their lineup, with some speed coming back, and they got different heroes are popping up, which is another thing that needs to happen going down the stretch in particular, and we've seen them in all kinds of strange places doing weird things like walk-off walks and fly ball outs, but it's working. It's working. And I'd like to see Cal Raleigh get Junior's record. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they're there for. And most of the guys, I doubt if Junior's sitting around rooting against him. He doesn't, to a certain extent, if you're Ken Griffey Jr. with everything you accomplished, I'm sure you care. I'm sure that record means a little bit to you, but why not see some young great player come along and break it while you're still alive to enjoy it? Somebody's going to break it eventually. Why not Cal?
Yeah, I think it's going to be him. And, it's too bad in a way, because I've been looking for the last hour to try and make the point of Cal Raleigh over Aaron Judge for MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just too hard to do. It's just too hard to do because Judge is having such a good offensive season in so many ways. But I would point out that Cal Raleigh is doing it, not discounting anything, playing the toughest position on the field at an all-star level, at a Gold Glove level. And, he's missed, I think he hadn't played in like 4 or 5 games this year, which is about it. And that's because, he got pulled by Dan Wilson. He's been healthy all year. We know the number of games he's caught. He's done that. It's just the Judge's offensive year has been so great that it's too hard to make the case for him. But, I'll tell you what, Cal Raleigh is going to be, his story's going to really be remembered for a long time. And geez, I hope it has a great postseason for him. I hope that really happens for this team because fans deserve it. And it would be, I don't even want to think about it if they bounced out early. They didn't even get to the World Series.
And that's the big, you touched on it kind of peripherally, is the 2022. It was so exciting that they got there. And then that Toronto series was really fun. They beat them, then they got Houston and they had their hands full and they lost. But it was going to feel good almost no matter what happened that they were finally back in there. This time there's expectations. There's, 2 weeks ago, everybody giving up on them. Now everybody's back on the bandwagon. That's baseball. It's part of it. Now they get there, and you're right. People are going to be like, all right, you got to do something. Congratulations, but you haven't done anything yet in a lot of fans' minds. So there's going to be a real big high level of expectation.
There is, and this team has got a playoff pedigree with each other. A lot of those young pitchers were there in 2022, and a lot of position players were there in 2022. So they got some experienced guys who knows what it's like to win in the postseason, which is going to be fun. I just wish we'd get here already.
Yeah, with two more weeks. It'll be here soon enough. Meanwhile, Groz, our feathered friends of Renton, I thought they'd be 1-1 after 2 games. I just thought it would be the other way around. I figured they'd win the
Right.
home game against, I think, an okay San Francisco team. And I thought they, especially after watching what Pittsburgh did the first week, I don't know how old I'm going to have to get, Dave, before it finally gets through my big, thick, dumb head that in the NFL, what happened last week has no bearing on what's going to happen this week. It never does. It's like, oh, come on. I mean, the Hawks stunk it up, and the Steelers got an emotional win for Aaron Rodgers in New York against the Jets. They're going to roll. They're going to blast these guys, and the exact opposite happens because this is the NFL.
Yeah, and it was a completely different story this time around. Although, they made a huge break and they got a huge break, and that's fine. That's how you win on the road,
Right.
Because they had the great interception on Rodgers. Would have put the game in a much different light going into the fourth quarter, and then you had the incredible boneheaded play where they got a free touchdown out of it, and they took advantage of it, which was the most important thing about it. And a 14-point win on the road is great, no matter who it is.
Right.
And so, I mean, nothing to feel bad about this week, but like you said, let's wait and see what happens next week, because if they lose at home to New Orleans, that'll be, I had to say it, that'll be their 8 of the last 11 they've lost at home. So let's not lose to New Orleans at home this week, fellows.
The one thing I was looking up today just to see, because we should probably watch this all year, they want to be a team that can run the football. 2 games in, they're 15th in the league. They could be better, but it could be worse too. They're right in the middle of the pack, running the ball. They certainly look good running the football in the second half. Walker in particular. I liked all of that. If you're going to say we're going to be a running team, commit to the run, then commit to the run. And I think that the first 2 games we've seen that a little bit.
We didn't see it in the first game. We definitely saw it in the second game. And there's a little bit of a asterisk on that because Pittsburgh lost like 5 players in the first half of that game on defense.
True.
So, I mean, again, you take advantage of it. It's the way the game is played. But I'm going to need to see them run it again really effectively a couple more times before I'm convinced that they've now become a good running team. However, they did go to it, and it did work for them this week. No doubt about it.
I'm convinced DK Metcalf's a very good receiver, and he's going to have a lot of great days for Pittsburgh. Cooper Kupp, few question marks. Maybe some of those were answered in Pittsburgh. They certainly threw to him more, and amazingly, he caught more since they threw to him more. And they need him. I mean, I'm not saying he has to replace DK 1-to-1, but they need Cooper Kupp to do what he can do, and I thought that they got that going a little bit last Sunday.
They did, and he's replacing the old slot receiver who's now set out wide, going to catch 120 passes this year, and he did a great job of it last week. You're right, and I hope if he performs like that, this offense is going to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty good if you can count on him for 5 to 7 catches for decent yardage during the game, and you definitely had that last week.
They're 7.5-point favorites, and a couple sites I checked this morning, and it's only Tuesday as we're recording this. 75% of the early money coming in on the Hawks. People believe in them, given a touchdown and a hook, which, again, I don't know if that means anything. It's an interesting anecdotal look. And, again, most people, I think, at this time of year just looking at trends and statistics and figure, well, the Hawks won't lose 2 home games in a row. It's like, oh, they might. they just
good
might
at home, guys.
Yeah, so we'll see. Kellen Moore comes back to the great state of Washington after, what was it? Was he with the Cowboys? Couple of years as a coordinator, maybe?
Yeah, 4 or 5 at least, I want to say.
That's like an era for them.
Speaking of the Cowboys, Russell Wilson showed signs of life this weekend. It was brutal the way they lost it, but he really looked like Russell Wilson for the first time in a couple of years. Now, I think that may have been his last hurrah because the Giants are awful.
Yeah,
but he really was good in that game.
Well, that last pick he threw was kind of classic of what we've seen out of him, just the moon ball where he just kind of throws it into a lot of traffic and hopes for the best. And, I don't know. I don't know enough about
only pick of the day.
Yeah, right. Yeah, only pick of the day. So that's a good point. I don't know enough to look at him and go, okay, is it something he's doing that he wasn't doing? Because in his early days, when he'd throw those passes, they almost always landed in the good guy's hands. I mean, he was incredible. Again, he's had such a horrible fall at the end of his career, and some of it may be self-inflicted. I think we're tending to forget how great he was. I mean, great for the first 4 or 5 or 6 years of his career. I mean, he won them games all the time, and he just can't do that anymore. But he did have a hell of a day Sunday, and who knows, maybe it is his last draw, because you're right, those guys, no bueno.
450 yards passing, and it was really impressive. But he didn't have the, I'm going to say, gas confidence. Even though he talks a brave game now, I got to believe his confidence is a little bit worn out. And new coordinators, new systems. Every year now it's a different path for the expendable quarterback, I'll say.
Right.
So I mean, he'll still get jobs the way he threw yesterday, but it's hard to imagine him being able to mount much of a serious comeback with a team like the Giants, who just aren't any good.
And at some point, the Giants will go, okay, we should try Dart, even though we're not very good. We're going to want to get a look at this kid in some action. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the guy.
Well,
I
the
always
thing to remember, I guess.
No.
Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was going to say, I've always wondered what that first game with the Broncos that was played here, where he got booed relentlessly. And I think he lived in such a bubble. I think that surprised him. I thought he was surprised. Maybe I'm crazy, but I mean, he's like Elvis. He surrounded himself with people that were going to tell him what he wanted to hear. And I always thought, man, that game and him getting booed that way, is like, God, these people turned on me fast. I've always wondered what that did to his confidence, if that was the thing that shook it.
Certainly wrecked them in Denver, although Denver looks like they're a pretty good team after all. And, one last thought I was thinking about, he's in New York, so his honeymoon won't last long. For example, in the New York Times today, a sports section story, Aaron Glenn's honeymoon phase with the Jets is officially over.
And that's the Times. It's not even the
2
Post.
games. That's 2 games. So...
Oh, God. Hey, one other NFL note. Does anybody care? Because there's some stories on it. I find it fascinating from a lot of different levels. I'm not sure any fans care. But the shots of Tom Brady last night on Monday Night Football, sitting in the coach's box with headphones on, listening to what's going on, looking as stiff as a board, by the way. The guy never looks comfortable. He always just looks like he's somewhere without someone's permission. And then he'll be back in the booth Sunday calling a Fox NFL Sunday afternoon classic. I'm tempted to say I'm surprised the NFL's allowing this, but I think it becomes like, well, we're not going to screw with one of our greatest all-time players. But it sure seems shady.
I don't know, man. They screwed him before with Inflategate and stuff like that, but I agree with you. I mean, I don't understand why they allowed it, what the reason was to allow it. I mean, he's an owner in the team, and he's contributing to him, and he's sitting up in the box there for the Commanders and watching them. I think the stink will come as time goes on. That's going to be a story that's going to continue to fester as the weeks go on, Gas.
And it's almost like you kind of look at him and go, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a broadcaster? Do you want to be an owner? If you want to commit to one of them, they're both great jobs. And he'll be, I don't think he's ever going to be a great broadcaster, because he's not warm, and he's not going to develop a warmth gene. But he can be a good broadcaster, and he certainly can see the game at a level most people couldn't. But if you want to do that, then divest yourself of the interest in the team. Or if you want to be in the team, go do that. I'm almost surprised. I hear, like, why? What's in it for him? I mean, you can say more money, but come on, how much money?
No, you're right. It's just probably just dealing with the spotlight, right, and having a troubled time, dealing with the new reality. I mean, you avoided it for a long time, man. Yeah, you avoided it for a long, long time.
All right, one last thing, maybe 2 last things we got to talk about. One of them is it's 80 degrees in Seattle, and nothing. The first time it hits 80 in September, my first thought is Apple Cup. It's Apple Cup week, Groz.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of air came out of it, I think, last week from the Cougars side of things. Yeah. I mean, that was. I'm listening to Puckett and Jim Moore and other Cougs talk about it in the retrospect of it. They're all calling it the worst game, they think, in Washington State history. The worst performance, considering who was against, what the game wound up being, how badly they got beat. The worst game that Washington State's ever had, which, a Husky fan would say, geez, there's so many to choose from. I'm surprised you picked that one. But, I mean, can this team bounce back from that is the question. I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah, they go down there and lose 21-13. You're like, all right, I mean, North Texas is a decent team. They're supposed to be good in that league. But to go down there, and again, that brings up elements of God where, I didn't see the game, so I don't know, but I mean, how into it were guys? Were they, did they stay into it? And you can add in, one of the reasons you could look at it as one of the worst losses ever is, you're supposed to be kind of building up towards a big, you won the Apple Cup last year. You're building.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how cocky I'd get if I were the Huskies, but I would imagine they spent some of their bye week working on stuff that we're going to see in 2 weeks against Ohio State. I can't imagine why you wouldn't. And you go, oh, no, you have to focus on the team ahead of you. Coaches and players have the ability to focus on two things at once. I don't think you want to do a lot of it this week, but last week you certainly could have.
Yeah, and it is number one, so that's always a different feeling, I think, as well. But I don't think they expected Washington. I mean, who knows? I don't think anyone expected Washington State to play so badly. And, it can have a weird effect on the Huskies if they allow it. But I think the fact that they lost last week last year, forgive me, will kind of take care of that. You want to mention our friend Bud Withers? We all would agree is a fine reporter.
Yeah,
wrote a real good book on the Apple Cup.
Yeah, he's. I'm trying to think of that. The title is great. It was like
Too Good to Be Through.
Too Good to Be Through. It's a great title. I'm pretty sure I told Bud he should title that. We were in a meeting, and I said, Bud, here's what you should title your book, and you should put by Bud Withers on there too.
Yeah, why not?
I love the title, and I agree with the sentiment. I hope. Look, everybody's still got to find where they're at, and the Cougars going to have to find where they're at in this new world we're in. But I sure hope the rivalry stays exciting. And again, I'll just remind you, even if the Cougars get beat 78-2 this week, they won it last year.
Right.
So it's not as if, you can think, oh, we're never going to win that again. Cougars were usually underdogs anyway over the years. So, yeah, I hope. And Bud's book is a great historical look back at the Apple Cup. And who better to do it? Bud's seen a million of them and knows this the Northwest landscape. So good for him and good luck with the book.
Absolutely. I wish he had a better first game for it. But, who knows? It's football. You still got to line them up and play.
That's right.
Stranger things have happened.
Don't you think the money era that we're in college football now, the unprecedented money era, is leading to high-profile coaches getting fired 3 weeks into the season? And I'm not saying UCLA and Virginia Tech are wrong. They've been getting destroyed, but I think you got a lot of people now in the room saying, "I'm giving you $5 million to pay these players. We got to hire a coach who knows how to use them." And Brent Pry gets canned by Virginia Tech. Deshaun Foster got canned last Saturday, 2 days ago, I guess, by UCLA. I think this is going to be an emerging and a little bit disturbing trend in college football.
So many law of unintended consequences are going to happen in college football,
Yeah.
This is definitely one of them. You're right. And it's, you got those guys recruited there to play for you for money. I mean, they're going to lose all of them. I mean, it's just, it's a mess. The games are still good on. It's still good, but the way it's functioning now is just a mess.
Yeah. I mean, you watch Georgia and Tennessee, and then you watch Notre Dame and Texas A&M, and you go, none of that other stuff matters. That was like 8 hours of brilliant entertainment.
It's absolutely right,
continue.
But it will.
Pop quiz at the end of the show here, Groz, for you. And before I ask you this question, I'm going to tell you I had to look up the answer. So I'm not trying to make you look bad. If anything, I'm going to make you look good and make me look like a fool. But Kraken training camp is underway. Can you name the coach of the Seattle Kraken?
No.
I had to look. I'm like, who the hell's coaching this team right now? It's Lane Lambert, the guy who we decided looks like.
That's right.
He looks like Lurch. Which hopefully that means he's a good coach. He scares the players into playing better. But I was like, well, wait a minute. I think they made a change, didn't they? I mean, hockey, I think, can get established
Still
up here,
back
but
burner.
they're going to have to be a good franchise for a couple of years, and they've been great at a lot of things, but they got to win, and they know that. And it's up to Lane Lambert to make it happen. Groz's favorite all-time Kraken coach.
Absolutely. That's funny, though.
All right, yeah. I thought, I was like, there's no way Groz knew it. I knew I didn't know it, so I thought it was only fair. Cochise County, Arizona is where we'll end the show this week, Groz.
Okay.
Isaiah Walker had a big day recently. He was released from the Arizona State Penitentiary. He's been rehabilitated. I'm not sure what he was in there for, but he's in the Arizona State Penitentiary, and he lives in Lawton, Oklahoma. That's where he's going, so he needs a ride. So he goes to a truck stop, and he steals a truck. I mean, he's been out of the big house for like 6 hours. Rather than maybe walk around the truck stop and meet again and say, hey, I'm a good guy. I don't have any weapons. I just got out of prison. I need a ride to Oklahoma. Could you do? No, he steals a truck. Now, there's a lot of trucks at a truck stop. Probably a lot of them be pretty easy to steal. He picks one with a guy in it, opens the door, hauls the guy out, beats him up, jumps back in, and steals the truck. So he's really on a roll for just getting out of prison. And the best part is, So now he pulls out on the interstate, right? He's in a semi-truck. I mean, yeah, you might be able to blend in a little bit, right? Who's going to know? There's a million semi-trucks.
Sure.
Well, he happened to steal one that had not one, not two, but 12 brand new, souped up, crazy Corvettes that were worth $1.2 million. So the APB is like, all right, we're looking for a truck, and it's carrying 12 sports cars.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they found him pretty quick. Once they found him, he decided to add fleeing the police to his day. So he took about 20 miles weaving in and out of traffic down the road before they finally got him to stop. That's a full day, Groz. Get out of prison, beat up a guy, steal his truck, lead police on a chase. You've accomplished a lot in that day.
Now he's back where he belongs.
For a while, at least. He's at the request of the state. He's at a specific address, I think is how they put it. All right, go Hawks, go M's, and go Apple Cup.